Here's the wildest thing you'll hear all day, and I'm dropping it right now in the first 10 seconds. When a Filipino person says "bah" to their friend, you know, that drawn-out, slightly annoyed, slightly pleading "bah." They are, without knowing it, speaking a word that linguists have traced back over 6,000 years. Let that sink in. 6,000 years. And no, this isn't some crackpot theory. This is academic linguistics. And the story behind it? It involves ancient gods, a goddess who ferried the dead across the ocean, a creation myth with bamboo, and a tiny word that somehow survived every empire, every colonization, every generation, completely intact. How? That's what we're here to find out. By the end of this video, you're going to know a secret that most linguists won't bother to explain in plain English. Where ba really comes from, why it's sacred, and what it has to do with a goddess who's basically the Philippine version of the Greek ferryman of the dead. And trust me, once you know this, you're going to be that person at parties. You're welcome. Okay, let's set the scene. You're in Cebu, Davao, Iloilo, anywhere in the Visayas or Mindanao, and your friend is doing something you've told them 3 times not to do. You look at them, you take a breath, and you say, "bah." Maybe you stretch it out, maybe you cut it short. And here's the thing, whether you stretch it or cut it actually changes the meaning entirely. We'll get to that, but first, what even is this word? In Cebuano, which is one of the biggest languages of the Philippines with over 20 million native speakers, ba is what linguists call a discourse particle. It's a tiny word that doesn't translate neatly into English, but absolutely changes the vibe of a sentence. Ask a question? Stick ba at the end. Want someone to stop? Aya ba. Need them to really stop? Aya ba. It's like English speakers saying right or yeah, except it's way more expressive. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The extended version, ba, with the long drawn-out vowel, is a whole different animal. Linguists who study Cebuano Bisaya particles note that when you extend the ba, you're actually adding a layer of politeness, urgency mixed with respect. But the moment you cut it short, suddenly you sound aggressive, demanding, even threatening, all from one tiny syllable. The length of the word carries the entire emotional payload. That's not common. That's actually linguistically fascinating. So, okay, ba is a powerful little word in Visayan languages. Great. But, and here's where it gets weird, this word didn't just appear in the Philippines one day. It has a paper trail, a 6,000-year paper trail. And that trail leads all the way back to Taiwan. Yes, Taiwan. I know. Stay with me. Around 4,000 to 6,000 years ago, depending on which linguist you ask, and they do argue about this, a group of incredibly skilled seafarers lived on the island of Taiwan. These were the ancestors of what we now call the Austronesian peoples. And yes, scientists and linguists universally agree on this. DNA evidence, archaeological evidence, and linguistic evidence all point to the same starting point, Taiwan. These people were amazing navigators. They eventually spread to the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Madagascar, Hawaii, and New Zealand. That's almost half the globe. Now, when a language family spreads this wide, we're talking over 1,200 languages that descend from this one original tongue. Linguists can do something remarkable. They can reverse engineer the original language. It's called Proto-Austronesian, or PAN for short. Think of it like linguistic archaeology. You look at all the descendant languages, find what they share in common, and reconstruct what the original parent language must have sounded like. And when linguists, specifically Otto Dempwolff, who pioneered this reconstruction in the early 20th century, when they did this, one of the very first words they reconstructed was ba, a question particle, meaning Is it? Right? Are you sure? The exact same function it has in Cebuano today. Let me give you a second to appreciate how insane that is. A word, just 2 letters, ba. It was being spoken 6,000 years ago in Taiwan, and it is being spoken today in Cebu, Davao, Iloilo, and 1,000 other places across Southeast Asia and the Pacific. Unchanged, functionally identical. It survived the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the Spanish colonization of the Philippines, 333 years of that, by the way, the American occupation, World War II, modernization, the internet, and it is still here, still doing exactly the same job. Let that blow your mind for a second. Before we get into the gods, and oh, we are getting into the gods, I want to know something. Drop it in the comments right now. Do you use ba or ba in your everyday speech? Or maybe you know a word in your language that works the exact same way. A question particle, that little verbal nudge at the end of a sentence that means right or you feel me? Japanese has ka, Chinese has ma, Malay has ke. There's something very human about this, and I want to know if your language has one. Drop it below. Okay, now, the gods. All right, close your eyes for a second. Well, don't, because then you can't see the video. But imagine this. Thousands of years ago, before any Spanish missionaries arrived, before there was a country called the Philippines, the people of the Visayas had a complete, detailed, sophisticated cosmology. A whole universe of gods, a creation myth, an afterlife, and at the center of it all, 2 supreme beings, one who ruled the sky and one who ruled the ocean. The sky god was called Kaptan, big guy, literally the king of the heavens, venerated across Cebu, Bohol, Negros, Samar, Leyte, and Panay. He was essentially the most powerful divine figure in the ancient Visayan world. The sea goddess, the one I want you to really remember, was called Magwayen, or sometimes Magwayen. She ruled the ocean. But that wasn't even her most important job. Her main gig? She was the goddess of the afterlife, the one who ferried the souls of the dead across the water to the next world. The scholar Gregorio Zaidi, one of the Philippines' most respected historians, actually described Magwayen as the Visayan Acheron. Now, Acheron, for those who didn't take ancient Greek mythology in school, no judgment. Acheron was the ferryman in Greek mythology who took souls across the river to the underworld. The Visayans had the exact same concept, completely independent, a goddess of the threshold, the one who stands between the living and the dead, between this world and the next. She isn't feared exactly, she's revered, she's necessary. Without her, the dead can't move on. And then there was Kan-laon, or Kan-laon, which is also the name of an active volcano in Negros Island, which feels very on brand for a supreme deity, honestly. Kan-laon was the supreme god of the ancient Hiligaynon people of Negros. Think of him as the god above the gods, the one who created both Magwayen and Kaptan. He breathed them into existence, literally. The ancient stories say Kan-laon created Magwayen from his breath as a balance to the sky god Kaptan. Breath from the mouth. Sound familiar? We'll come back to that. Now, the Visayan creation myth, which was recorded by Spanish missionaries in the 16th and 17th centuries, tells us this. In the beginning, there was only water and sky. Magwayen ruled the water. Kaptan ruled the sky. Their children, the sea and the wind, married each other, and from that marriage came 4 grandchildren, gold, copper, silver, and the rebellious one named Likalibutan. Likalibutan, full of pride, decided to attack Kaptan, the grandfather sky god himself. Bad idea. Kaptan responded with lightning. Likalibutan's body shattered, and his pieces became the land, the islands of the Philippines. Humans then emerged from hollow bamboo planted on those islands. Okay, Now here's where linguistics and mythology start talking to each other. Stay with me. We've established that the particle ba, reconstructed as *ba in Proto-Austronesian, is one of the oldest surviving words in the entire Austronesian language family. It's been documented by linguist Otto Dempwolff and confirmed in subsequent reconstructions. It's a question particle. It signals the threshold between a statement and an unknown. It's the word you use when you're standing at the edge of certainty, when you don't know, when you're asking, and here's a word I'm going to come back to, when you're liminal. Here's the thing about ancient Austronesian spiritual beliefs that most people don't know. Proto-Austronesian peoples, those original Taiwanese ancestors of the Visayans, had a very specific religious worldview. Researchers studying Pan belief systems found that these people were obsessed, in a reverent spiritual way, with liminality, liminal spaces, threshold states, things that exist between two other things. Sunsets, sun showers, when it rains while the sun is out, rainbows, whirlwinds, transvestite people. All of these were considered sacred. Why? Because they're neither one thing nor another. They exist on the boundary. And ba, the question particle, is linguistically liminal. It's the word that turns a statement into a question. It stands at the boundary between knowing and not knowing, between certainty and doubt. And Magwayen, the ancient Visayan goddess, is mythologically liminal. She stands at the boundary between the living and the dead, between this world and the next. She's the ferryman of souls. Both the word and the goddess occupy the exact same conceptual space, the threshold, the in-between, the moment before you know. Is that a coincidence? Maybe. Probably not. And then there's the matter of breath. Kan-laon, the supreme deity, created Magwayen from breath. That's the actual myth. Divine breath, the exhalation that created a goddess. Now, ba is one of the most breath-heavy vocalizations in the Visayan language. When you say it slowly with the extended vowel, ba, you are releasing breath. You are vocalizing breath. Ancient Austronesian peoples revered the wind and breath so deeply that dozens of descendant languages carry words related to circular wind motion, whirlwinds, spinning, dizziness, all from the same Proto-Austronesian root. The word ba is literally the vocalization of breath, and breath, in this mythology, created a goddess of the dead. Now let's talk about survival, because here's what's extraordinary, and honestly, what I find most moving about this whole story. The Spanish arrived in the Philippines in 1565. They colonized for 333 years. They renamed islands, renamed people, rewrote history. American colonization followed, then the Japanese occupation, then Americanization all over again. Through all of that, generations of suppression, replacement, forced language shifts, ba and ba survived. Nobody thought to kill a tiny question particle, and because of that, because it was too small to bother with, it carried 6,000 years of linguistic memory all the way to your text messages, right now, today. And here's something beautiful. The word Bisaya itself, the name of the people and the language family, might come from the Sanskrit word Visaya, meaning kingdom or domain. That's according to the linguist Jean-Paul Potet, writing in 2016. Sanskrit, India, because even before the Austronesians reached the Philippines, they were already in contact with Indian trade networks. So the very name of the people, Bisaya, might carry traces of ancient Sanskrit, layered on top of a Proto-Austronesian foundation, spoken by descendants of Taiwanese seafarers. This language, these people, they are an intersection of civilizations. And let's not forget, the name Bisaya was also described by a 17th century Spanish missionary named Alcina, one of the most important early recorders of Visayan culture, as meaning happy people, from the root saya, meaning joyful. So you've got a people whose very name possibly means both kingdom, from Sanskrit, and joyful from their own language root. A kingdom of happy people who speak a 6,000-year-old question word. I mean, honestly, that's a pretty great identity to have. So here's what we know, and what it all means when you put it together. Around 6,000 years ago, in Taiwan, a language was born, Proto-Austronesian. That language had a question particle, ba, a word that meant, is it? Right? Are you sure? A word of threshold, a word of the unknown. From Taiwan, seafarers carried it south. They brought it to the Philippine archipelago. They built a civilization there. They created a mythology with a sky god named Kaptan, a sea goddess named Magwayen, who ferried souls between worlds, and a supreme deity named Kan-laon, who breathed creation into existence. And in that mythology, the threshold between life and death was sacred. The in-between was holy. And the tiny word ba, that expression you say without thinking, it lives at that same threshold. It's the word of not yet knowing. It's the linguistic equivalent of standing at the edge of Magwayen's boat. It's the moment before you cross over. It's a question mark you can hear. And it has been spoken by millions of people across 6,000 years, across half the planet, without anyone knowing what it was carrying. That's not just language history. That's something deeper. That's a cultural memory encoded in sound, passed down through generations like a secret whispered in plain sight. So next time you say ba, maybe to your sibling, maybe when you're on the phone, maybe when someone does that thing you told them not to do for the third time, just know, you are speaking a word that was spoken at the dawn of civilization. You are, without meaning to, making a sound that echoes across 6,000 years of human history. A sound that the ancient Visayans wove into their gods, their creation stories, their understanding of life and death. A sound that is, in the most literal linguistic sense, immortal. And that is the story of Ba, a 6,000-year-old breath. If this blew your mind half as much as it blew mine putting it together, hit share, because someone in your life needs to know this. Drop in the comments, what word in your language do you think carries ancient roots that most people have forgotten? I'd genuinely love to know. And if you want to go even deeper, we haven't even scratched the surface of Visayan mythology. There's the bamboo creation story, the first humans, Sikalek and Sikabe, the whole Likalibutan rebellion that literally built the Philippine Islands. That video is next. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you there.